What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some insane battles in the Fossil Cup running actual fossil Pokemon. And I didn't want to settle for just a team of 3, I wanted to run every fossil Pokemon currently available in Pokemon Go. Now there are currently 21 fossil Pokemon in the game right now, including pre-evolutions, but a few of them are just completely useless, so in the end I settled for 18 different Pokemon with 6 unique teams. And just so you know, the 3 that I didn't include were Shieldon, which at level 50 as a hundo just barely gets to 1000 CP, Anorith, which is actually more attack weighted than Salazzle and Rayquaza, but is stuck with Struggle Bug and Scratch as its only fast moves. And if you think that's bad, the third fossil I left out was Cranados, which has basically the same stat product as Rampardos, except it has Zen Headbutt and Takedown as fast moves, and literally doesn't have a single win against anything eligible for the Fossil Cup, according to PvPoke. Now I didn't build them this time, but let me know if you ever want to see gameplay with either Shadow Anorith or Cranados in the future, and maybe I can give it a try, but I will definitely have to build much stronger teams around them if I want any chance of winning. Anyways, even without those 3 Pokemon, this was still a ridiculously difficult challenge. Initially I was planning on streaming these battles, but I soon realized that it actually might take me even more than 5 sets just to get 6 wins with these Pokemon, because they are just so bad up against the meta. And that actually was the case. It took me 8 sets in total just to get a win with each team. Now the reason for this is because of the typings available. Rock is by far the worst, since it takes super effective damage from both Water and Steel, which are the 2 other eligible typings in the meta. And then of course of the secondary typings, Fighting and Grass are by far the most common, as we've got Pokemon like Poliwrath and Ferrothorn being on pretty much every team. So basically everything in the meta counters fossil Pokemon, besides maybe Mantine and Pelipper. So yeah, this was definitely rough, but I got it done in the end. So if you appreciate the effort I went to make this video and the heavy investments on stuff like XL Kabuto, Amora, Tirtuga, Lileep and so on, then please leave a like on the video. And also, by the way, a subscriber actually submitted some battles with a full fossil team too, so I've decided just to include some of those battles at the end of this video. But that being said, let's just get into the question of the day. Which dinosaur or prehistoric animal would you like to see become a future fossil Pokemon? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. I was heading into the first battle lead, Lileep into Mantine. So as I mentioned in the intro, pretty much our only target with these fossil Pokemon is going to be a flying type. So you're going to no-shield this, it's just going to be an Aerial Ace, it's not going to do that much damage, and we're going to go for 1 extra Bullet Seed, but the opponent makes a brilliant catch there, catching the resisted Ancient Power onto a Registeel, and that does literally no damage whatsoever. But we're going to swap into Tirtuga, and we're just about able to make it to a Surf before they fire off a Charge Move, and they also let that go through. So definitely good with me, because if they take out my Tirtuga, I basically don't have anything that can get rid of this Registeel. But either way, we are once again just barely outpacing them to the Surf, and the opponent gonna no-shield, let the Registeel go down. I definitely don't mind that whatsoever. The opponent's now gonna come in with a Quagsire, which is another issue for fossil Pokemon, which I didn't even mention in the intro. Ground type Pokemon, also very good up against rock types. But either way, we just barely hang on there. Tirtuga putting in work and also landing the Surf, which is very nice. We're now going to come in with Lileep. They're probably going to swap straight away into Mantine, so we can come in with the Omanyte. I'm just going to no-shield this. If it is a Water Pulse, that's going to hit for neutral damage. It does big damage, actually. Omanyte, not exactly the bulkiest Pokemon ever, but we're now going to fire off a Rock Blast, and Rock Blast will be grabbing the first shield from the opponent. We're able to make it to a second Rock Blast, throwing on the CMP tie, and Rock Blast is going to be no-shielded this time around, of course. They need to save a shield, because, of course, my Lileep is going to core break their team. Unfortunately, Aerial Ace doesn't quite take us out there, so they get a few extra wing attacks in. We can still tank this, so I will no shield as the opponent goes for the Aerial Ace once again. We're now going to massively overfarm. I actually farm to over 100 energy, which is maybe a little bit questionable there, but I always want a Charge Move loaded just in case the opponent swaps back into Quagsire. And at this point, I'm predicting they're going to swap instantly, so we go for that Grass Knot, blind throwing it, and it is the Quagsire coming back in. We get the one shot, and can we make it to the Ancient Power? We're just barely able to do so. One turn before they made it to a Charge Move, and also on 1 HP and a Dream, we take out the Mantine, and I'm able to take that game. So some of these battles and some of these teams, I actually just got a win with the first battle I did, which was crazy, and then others took me like over 3 sets to get a win with, so it was very much mixed, and some of the teams kind of make sense. Other teams I was like, oh well, I've only got these 3 Pokemon left, so I can't really do anything other than use these 3 Pokemon. But either way, we are going to correctly shield up the Stone Edge. Then I'm going to let the Mod Bomb go through. That's resisted damage, but it does that much damage up against Archon. That's insane. But we're now going to fire off a Crunch, and honestly, I'm not sure if they're going to be able to fully lock on Farm us down. So going to fire off Crunch number 2. Crunch actually grabs the shield. Unfortunately, no debuffs with the Crunch there up against the Registeel, which definitely would have made it a lot more comfortably for me, but they are still going to have to throw their energy to take us out. So going to come in with my Tyrant just because I believe they did overfarm slightly in that matchup. So we get to the Dragon Claw slightly faster. Unfortunately, it is resisted damage, but I'm hoping with that damage, we've now put them into farm down range with resisted Dragon Tail. So can we get the farm down here? Unfortunately, no, we're not able to do so. The opponent gets damage registration error. Focus Blast gets the one shot, and they have a Mantine in the back. So this is still doable, assuming they're not running Ice Beam here. So I'm just going to farm 2 back-to-back crunches. The opponent throws the charge move, but they are running Ice Beam that hits for super effective damage. It takes out Tyrantrum, and unfortunately we lose that game. So basically the only Mantine in the entire meta running Ice Beam, and unfortunately we face it there. But into the next battle, gonna lead into Poliwrath. So despite being a flying type Pokemon, we're taking more damage here than this Poliwrath is from our wing attacks, and that's because we are part rock and Archon incredibly glassy. Gonna shield the first move, of course. They're just gonna go for Icy Wind, drop our attack, and now unfortunately this next Dragon Claw will not be enough damage to get the KO. So instead, since we're debuffed, I swap into Tyrant, trying to snipe with the Dragon Tail damage, but they do make it to an Icy Wind, and since Tyrantrum is slightly glassier, I figured I'll probably just save my shield for that, and they're going to come in with a Lantern, so this is still doable here. Going to fire off the Ancient Power. We are debuffed, but we actually grab the final shield from the opponent, which is huge. And of course, Tyrantrum is part Dragon, so we're going to take neutral damage from the Surfs. We're also going to resist the damage from a Thunderbolt, so going to no-shield the first move here. They will make it to back-to-back Surfs. My Switch Clock just barely wasn't up in time there. You can see I was trying to swap out and catch the charge move. It doesn't work out for me, so instead, we're going to try again, go for 4 more Dragon Tails, make the catch onto my Archon, which is fine. Of course, Surf will be taking us out, even if they undercharge that. And then here, I get way too greedy, and I completely forgot that by the time Lantern makes it to, like, the 4th or 5th Surf, it actually gets there after 1 less spark, and unfortunately that allows them to take me out with the Surf there. I don't know what was in the back. I assume probably something maybe weak to rock there, as they did stay in with the Lantern. So if I just threw a charge move, I probably could have won that game, but I messed it up, and GG's to that opponent there. But into the next battle, we're going to see a Shadow Swampert in the lead. So once again, like the Quagsire, very little fast move pressure. I'm going to fire off the Dragon Claw on the CMP tie this time around, and Dragon Claw goes unshielded. It actually gets the KO. They come with Togedemaru, which is definitely not ideal for us, and now they come in with a Lantern. So this time they're running Water Gun, which is worse because of course it is neutral damage, but we're still tanky enough to live a charge move here. So I'm going to no-shield this. I should be able to make it to an Ancient Power actually, so going to commit to the Ancient Power as it will do more damage, but I'm thinking, actually, you know what? If they do let that go through, I probably want to farm down with one of my other Pokemon, but they end up shooting anyway, so that's fine with me. I'm just going to come in with my Archon. I know it's completely useless up against the Togedemaru, so I might as well just sacrifice it here, force the opponent to throw their energy. Now we should be able to go for a full Dragon Tail farm down, and assuming Togedemaru isn't running like Gyro Ball, we should be fine here. Wild Charge, gonna be resisted damage. It will hit hard, but it doesn't get the KO. And now we've got a Meteor Beam loaded. This is also resisted. They've just dropped their defense though, so it gets the one shot up against the Togedemaru, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to opponent there into next battle, and I think this was probably one of the worst teams that I ran, and also one of the last teams that I ran. It was kind of just the Pokemon that were left, so of course you can see like any counter user gonna completely annihilate this team here, but gonna go for an Ancient Power there, and I'm thinking, you know what? I might be able to make it to another Ancient Power here. So if we just stay in, we use a shield, and can we get there in time? Yes, we are just barely able to on the CMB tie with the Surf. So now this Ancient Power will connect. We get the boost, which is a bit unfortunate because it doesn't really help me here. But that Surf goes undercharged, and because of the boost, we actually put them into farm down range for the Omastar. So we come in, we get the Mudshot farm down, and let's see. The opponent's going to come in with a Shadow Alolan Sand Slash. So we're not quite going to make it to a Hydro Pump before they make it to a Drill Run. So we settle for the Ancient Power, and the opponent actually no shields that, but they overfarm again, allowing me to make it to Ancient Power number 2. Now at this point, I'm basically just staying in, forcing the opponent to throw a drill run to get the KO, because my Amora is going to be my win condition. You can see we are running Thunderbolt for the Pelipper in the lead, so hopefully we can land it, but I will have to overfarm, and I also have to call a bait there, which I'm able to do successfully. Now going to fire off a Weather Ball. It's double resisted, and it actually doesn't get the KO there. I thought that would get the KO since they were so low, but unfortunately, drill run gets the KO. I know Pelipper had loads of energy loaded, so I had to save my shield for that, and unfortunately we do lose that game. But GG's to the opponent there. Into next game, we see Togedemaru in the lead this time around. We say swap into Omastar since we are hitting for double super effective damage with those mud shots, but they go for a Fell Stinger bait. And also, I didn't realize this, but we lose CMP here. Obviously, I don't exactly play Omastar loads, but now we are in absolute shambles. We come in with the Caracosta. I'm going to have to shield this up, but unless they've got like Pelipper and Mantine in the back, we are definitely not winning this game. They go and grab my final shield. They've got Berserker in the back, probably running like Trailblaze and Close Combat to one-shot both of my Pokemon, so I'm just going to concede the match there. But GG's to the opponent there. Into next game, we see Mantine in the lead, and they're actually going to say swap into Quagsire. And this is huge because I do not have an answer whatsoever, but I am ahead on energy. So just going to fire off these Weather Balls here, firing off the second one on the CMP tie, and we now realize as well, we win CMP in this matchup. So here, we're going to shield this up. Unfortunately, it's going to be 4 to the next Mud Bomb, so I will get outpaced to this next Charge Move, but I'm realizing here, if I just shield this, I can probably go for a full Powder Snow farm down. So I think that's definitely the play here. We get the full farm down just before they make it to the Charge Move, but they've got a Ferrothorn in the back, and of course having 2 Pokemon double weak to the grass typing with 0 shields in play, and the opponent still having 2 shields, this isn't looking too good for us. But let's see if there's anything we can possibly do. We're gonna swap and just fully sacrifice the Omastar. I feel like Omastar pretty useless here. Power Whip gets the one shot. They've still got a 2 shield advantage though, so what am I gonna do here? We come back in with the Amora. We're gonna overfarm here, throwing after 4 Powder Snows, firing off the Weather Ball, and we should be able to make it to another Weather Ball in time. And if the opponent throws straight away here, this might be good for me because the opponent is going to throw straight away, and I'm hoping I've put them into range where we can actually just resisted Rock Throw farm them down. So Power Whip gets the KO. Can we get the farm down? Yes, we're able to do so, but it just depends. Can we actually live a Water Pulse from the Mantine? We throw the Ancient Power gets the boost, and that will just guarantee the win here as the opponent goes for the Water Pulse. We now tank that comfortably. We get the Rock Throw farm down, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to up over there. Into next game, we see Credilli into a Shadow Alolan Sandslash. So honestly, can't do much here. Credilli is pretty bulky though, so I'm just going to stay in, tank the Charge Move, and as well, they throw on alignment there. So I get a full Bullet Seed in for free, but then they swap, they make a catch there, catching a resisted Rock Slide, but they shield anyways. They panic and they doubt themselves, and now we can fire off the Grass Knot here. Grass Knot, please connect. It gets the one shot, which is huge. Now I'm going to swap into my Shadow Amaldo here, and I'm going to go and fire off a Liquidation straight away. This is non-stab, but it does some pretty decent damage, and it also drops their defense. So at this point, just gonna let Armaldo go down, bank on the fact that they've got something like a Mantine or a Pelipper in the back. We're gonna come in with the Rampardos, hoping to get the farm down, and we get it in just one smackdown, and there it is. It's a Pelipper, and look at that fast move pressure. They're just gonna instantly concede the match, and I'm able to take that game. So GG stuff over there. Into next battle, see another Shadow Alolan Sandslash in the lead, this time with the Archeops in the lead. So we're going to swap, make a catch, catching the Ice Punch onto my Kabutops, and they actually swap into a Mantine, which is very strange. I'm just going to no-shield this. It's just going to be an Aerial Ace. I thought maybe it was going to be a Bubble Beam, but nope, just an Aerial Ace, which we tank very comfortably. Gonna fire off the Stone Edge here. Stone Edge is going to be no-shielded, but unfortunately, it doesn't quite one-shot them. I'm not going to get a Mud Shot farm down either, so instead, I'm just going to let that go through. I'm going to come in with my Archeops here, get the farm down, and then I probably should just go for a Crunch straight away if it is the Sandslash coming back in, but no, it's actually going to be a Lantern, so we swap into Bastiodon, and by the way, this is just a lucky Bastiodon. I don't have an XL1, so we're going to shield up the Drill Run here. I probably should just commit to a full smackdown farm down, but instead we throw a flamethrower, grabbing a shield from the opponent, but that might be costly here. The opponent throws on awkward timing though, so maybe, just maybe we can get the smackdown farm down. They fire off the drill run, but no, they live on 1 HP and a dream. They make it to the drill run, getting the one shot, and we come back in with our Archeops. Doesn't matter at this point because they can just come in with the lantern, go for a full farm down there, and so we just concede the match. But GG's to open their internet's going to see a Poliwrath in the lead. So once again, like up against most Pokemon, going to be completely awful. At least Archeops is a flying type Pokemon, but I think they're just going to stay in and just fully counter fire me down. Double shield, and then at that point, I mean, we can't do anything here. So we're going to come in with the Kabutops, and I'm hoping they're just going to go for like a blind Icy Wind. So I'm going to no-shield this. I kind of can't really afford to shield, but they go for Scald. We're not even going to make it to an Ancient Power. And yeah, this is game over. I probably should start shielding here just in case they've got two Pokemon incredibly weak to Bastiodon in the back. Bastiodon is one of those Pokemon where, you know, if you're in the right matchup, you can win that even at like very minimal health there. But they debuff me with the Icy Wind. They've got Skarmory in the back though, so that is promising. So we're going to fire off a Flamethrower. And they've got a Galarian Stunfisk, so no chance there. We're just going to concede the match. But GG's to that opponent there. Into next game, we're going to see a Marwar in the lead. Shadow Marwar running Fire Fang. I'm going to bank a Crunch as I realise, of course, my energy is completely wasted into a Shadow Marwar. We're now going to swap into Kabutops, and I'm just going to no-shield as once again they just settle for an Aerial Ace. Perfectly fine with me. We've seen already. Unfortunately, Stone Edge doesn't quite one-shot them, so maybe I should just go straight Ancient Power here. But we're going to fire off a second Stone Edge, throwing on the CMP die, and Stone Edge will once again just barely miss out on getting that one shot, but that's okay. We're going to let the Aerial Ace go through. Unfortunately, they will be able to fully Wing Attack farm me down just before we get the Mud Shot farm down. And at this point, we come in with the Bastiodon. We get the Smackdown farm down. They come back in with Shadow Marwar. It's going to be a Power Punch. It will be double super effective damage, but it doesn't do that much damage here. So I think I'll let the first one go through. I will then shield the next one as they are boosted. And then I think eventually I maybe will go for a Flamethrower and then try and swap and snipe with my Archeops. So Flamethrower grabs that final shield. We're going to keep on farming, then swap. We've put them into range where hopefully a resisted Crunch will get the KO. It does get that knockout, and they've got a Ferrothorn in the back. So at this point, we should be fine. Gonna throw the Crunch straight away, throwing on CMP. Crunch is going to drop their defense as well, which is huge for me. At this point, I probably could have just no-shielded, come in with the Bastiodon, but actually, since we get the defense drop, I'm just gonna stay in, fire off a Crunch here, and from this range, of course, Crunch will be enough to take out the Ferrothorn, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to the opponent there. Into next game, we got Kabuto into a Lucario. Now this is absolutely awful for me. I'm at least running Aqua Jet, which isn't going to hit that hard. It's a very bad move, but it's neutral damage. But the opponent shields anyways, and this is already game over. I've only got a Pokemon either double weak to fighting, or I can come in and hit for double resisted rock throw damage. Either way, it's not good. I'm going to use my shield, and they bait with a power-up punch, and I just can't do anything at this point. I'm going to no-shield. The opponent goes for another power-up punch here. Can we get the rock throw farm down? Absolutely no chance. We come in with Aurora's here, and that one Force Palm basically puts us into range where a power punch will get the KO. And unfortunately, we got swept by a Lucario. But GG's to the opponent there. Into next game, we see Mantine in the lead. So much more manageable. Definitely what we're going to see. And again, I don't know if they're just like confused about what these Pokemon that I'm running, but they keep on going straight for Aerial Ace. We are a rock type. Don't do that. But either way, gonna fire off the Ancient Power. Actually, never mind. I do want them to do this because I need to get wins. And I can basically only do that when the opponents are misplaying because these teams are just that bad. But we get both shields with those Ancient Powers. At this point, I don't really want to give them extra farm, so we swap into our Aerodactyl. The opponent will fire off a Charge Move, and once again, it's just an Aerial Ace, so I'm going to no-shield this. The opponent eventually swaps into Ferrothorn, and of course, typically this would be pretty bad for our Fossil team, but we are up 2 shields. Going to fire off the Rock Side, doesn't do much damage there, but that's okay. I'm going to no-shield, I'm going to put my faith into my Aurorus with 2 shields, and hopefully we can sweep in the end game. So going to come in with the Aurorus here. I'm realizing I'm not quite going to be able to make it to a catch there as my switch clock wasn't quite up in time. So instead, I'm going to shield up the Power Whip here, go straight for Meteor Beam. I figured this is resisted damage. It probably won't KO, but it actually does get the KO there. I wanted to overharm slightly more than that, but oh well, it doesn't really matter. And again, they're just going to go for another Aerial Ace, so I can just let that go through. Going to continue to overfarm here, and the opponent swaps. They make a catch, but they catch onto Quagsire, and this would have been a problematic Pokemon for us if we weren't already boosted and had like 100 energy. So going to fire off the Weather Ball here, and we will be able to throw another Weather Ball before they get to a charge move. Weather Ball number 3 gets the KO, and at this point I can just safely shield up whatever they throw. Probably going to be another Aerial Ace, but it doesn't really matter, as I can now go for a full Powder Snow farm down, taking out the Mantine, and I'm able to take that game. Alright, so into the first bonus battle submitted to the channel by MaxiPad, so appreciate the submission. Unfortunately not showcasing everything they submitted because it was quite a long submission and this video is already fairly long. But either way, great lead for us, but the opponent is going to catch a Grass Knot onto a Shadow Skarmory. Great catch from the opponent. We are going to stay in here, bank a ton of energy, and then swap into Omastar because presumably they are running a triple flying moveset, so we should be able to resist everything. We fire off the Ancient Power. That does pretty decent damage there. Maybe we could have waited in case they throw a Brave Bird here, but either way, they just settle for a Sky Attack. We're now going to fire off the next Ancient Power. It looks like someone's at our door as we're getting ring notifications, but we're going to fire off the Ancient Power. This battle is way more important than that, so going to go and fire off another Ancient Power, but again, great catch from the opponent. They are doing really well here, catching the Ancient Power, but can we make it to another Ancient Power? Yes, we're able to do so. This might even grab a shield from the opponent, and Ancient Power does grab that shield, so Omastar putting in work. We could have fired off a Charge Move and just taken out that Lantern straight away actually, but instead gonna shield a Surf here. They're able to make it to another Surf. I don't know why we didn't throw there, but either way, gonna farm to it looks like 100 energy before throwing, and we're actually gonna go for a Rock Slide here, and Rock Slide won't get the KO, especially since we undercharge, so instead we come in with Kabutops, get ahead on energy here. I don't mind this play, but also we did just switch lock ourselves, which isn't ideal. They're gonna come back in with the Shadow Skarmory. We're gonna use our shield as the opponent does full send the Brave Bird this time around, and they've got Galarian Stunfisk in the back, so my Kabutops, I'm pretty sure, was running Ancient Power and Stone Edge, but this one is running Water Pulse, and that does huge damage up against the Stunfisk, and we needed that because, of course, Earthquake will get the KO here. We put them into range where, of course, a Grass Knot will get the KO, and I believe that Skarmory is Energy Dry, or pretty much, so we should be able to outpace them to a Rock Slide. We could have actually gone for a BM there, and I'm surprised we didn't, but either way, Rock Slide from this range will get the KO up against the Shadow Skarmory, and we're able to take that game. But into next battle, Credilli into Jellicent. So you probably will see a lot of favourable leads in these highlights here, just because to win with a team like this, you do just basically need good leads. And it's the same with my showcase as well. Pretty much every lead that I won was up against like a Mantine or a Pelipper. So we are going to unfortunately get baited with a Bubble Beam. I mean, we didn't shield, but they drop our attack, which isn't ideal. And they're probably just going to do the exact same thing once again. So gonna no shield, and they do go for a second Bubble Beam. So actually, just going to clear the debuff there. I'm not so sure about that, just because even double debuffed, a Grass Knot still would have done a lot of damage, but now Ancient Power does less damage than a double debuff Grass Knot, and as well, they can probably just Bubble Beam us once again. But we're going to shield, and it is another Bubble Beam. Very unfortunate. They come in with Whiscash, and we do at least make it to a Water Pulse on the CMP tie. Water Pulse is going to be no shielded, but that's fine with us. We do some decent chip damage there. The opponent goes for the Mud Bomb, that gets the KO. We can come back in with our Credilli, and we can overfarm. We can't overfarm too much, so unfortunately, we do that throw at slightly awkward timing, but we're going to get the KO anyway, so bad timing doesn't really matter there. And now we can come in with the Omastar. They're running Bastiodon. These Mud Shots are double super effective. They make it to a charge move here. We're actually going to shield this. Of course, Stone Edge still would do some pretty decent damage here. They're going to swap back into Jellicent, and we can fire off the Ancient Power. Ancient Power coming through is going to be shielded by the opponent, but we've got back-to-back already, so going to fire off Ancient Power number 2, getting the KO up against the Jellicent, and now I think both Pokemon are completely energy dry, which means we will just barely outpace them to the Hydro Pump. We're going to throw it straight away, and from this range, Hydro Pump gets the one shot up against the Bastiodon, and we're able to take that game. Into next battle, Credilli into a Steelix. Now, some Steelix in this meta are running Thunder Fang, so they're actually going to swap straight away, but they're also running Bullet Seed Mantine, which is something I did not expect, and unfortunately, that is awful for us, especially since they're running Bubble Beam as well. So we're going to fire off an Ancient Power. This is probably going to do just about 50% of their health, actually, but they will be able to make it to another Bubble Beam, and that will mean it will be impossible for us to maintain alignment here because, well, the next Ancient Power isn't going to do enough damage to get the KO, but they might shield anyway, so we're going to fire off the Ancient Power. The opponent does shield, so that's actually quite good because that Ancient Power definitely wouldn't get the KO. But again, we're coming in with Omastar here. Maybe we haven't realized that they're running Bullet Seed, but either way, they go for another Bubble Beam. Very annoying, and they make it to another Bubble Beam. Oh my gosh. This is not ideal. Bubble Beam, once again, gonna drop our attack. We can overfarm just slightly, go for another Ancient Power. And Ancient Power from this range still doesn't get the KO. We swap into our Credilli. We finally take out that Mantine. That was very annoying. And they're gonna come in with a Thunderfang Steelix. So it was Thunderfang there. We're gonna throw it slightly awkward timing there, but I don't think it matters too much. Grass Knot, not gonna do too much damage there. They're probably gonna debuff us with either a Psychic Fangs or a Breaking Swipe. They go for Psychic Fangs there, dropping our defense, but either way, these Thunderfangs, they're really not doing much damage whatsoever. Like I mentioned, Credilli is pretty bulky as it is, and they are resisted Thunderfangs as well. So at this point, we're actually going to shield this next move here. So they're going to go for another Psychic Fangs, and let's see, we're now going to swap into the Omastar. We get the Mudshot farm down, and they've got a Whiscash in the back. So once again, just full sending the Hydro Pump here. Hydro Pump does huge damage, and it will just put them into Bullet Seed farm down range. We do, of course, still have a shield remaining, so going to shield the first charge move here as the opponent goes for the Scald. Scald does actually drop our attack, but it doesn't matter. They don't reach another charge move. We get the Bullet Seed farm down, and we're able to take that game. Into next battle, we see Skarmory in the lead. We do stay in initially just to see if they're running like Steel Wing or Air Slash, and we eventually swap into Kabutops, but unfortunately met with a Ludicolo. This couldn't be going much worse. We actually get the unnecessary Ancient Power boost just to rub insult to injury there. Or just to add insult to injury there. But either way, we go for a charge move. It doesn't quite get the KO, but we do get that farm down, and they come back in with their Skarmory. So unfortunately losing CMP once again. As I mentioned, Credilli very bulky. Gonna shield up the Sky Attack there, and maybe try and catch the next Sky Attack onto our Omastar in the back, so maybe that's what we're going to go for here. We are going to overfarm. We're actually going to go for that Rock Slide straight away. Maybe looking to grab a shield before we swap here. And Rock Slide is going to grab a shield. We then swap. We try to catch the charge move, and the opponent's actually going to come in with their Registeel. Now, we do have an energy advantage. We're going straight for the Hydro Pump. We've seen it so many times already. Hydro Pump gets no shield. It does big damage there, but unfortunately, I don't think that will be enough damage to get a Mudshot farm down. So we're going to have to fire for an Ancient Power, but it's not going to help us too much. This will grab the final shield, but I think that Skarmory probably is still just slightly too healthy for us to take them out with a Rock Slide on our Credilli, and this is definitely going to get the KO here. Doesn't matter what they throw, Focus Blast or Zap Cannon easily one-shots us. We're not going to be able to go for a full Bullet Seed farm down, so we have to throw. We're going to overfarm as much as we can though. Rock Slide gets the KO, but they did leave with a charge move loaded, and of course from this range, Sky Attack gets the KO up against our Credilli, and unfortunately we do lose that game. But into next battle, we see Credilli into Tentacruel. So this is okay for us, but we are taking neutral damage from the poison. So instead, we actually swap into Kabutops, and we are just going to no-shield the first charge move here. The opponent is just going to go and Acid Spray us, so that's fine with us. These poison jabs are starting to add up just a little bit, but not too much. They are resisted. Going to fire off the Ancient Power. We grab a shield there, and we throw on the CMP tire, which is huge for us. Ancient Power number 2 is going to be no-shielded. And at this point, I think, yeah, we just let this go through here. The opponent is going to go for an Acid Spray once again, and that will actually allow them to fully Poison Jab farm us down. But that's okay. Going to come in with the Omastar, and we're going to no-shield once again. Probably just another Acid Spray at this point. Honestly, I don't even know if they've got Scald. Maybe they're running like Blizzard or, I don't know, Sludge Wave. But they're going to come in with a Poliwrath, and this isn't looking too good for us. But we're going to shield, or no, never mind, we're not going to shield. It's a power-up punch there, so they're not going to drop our attack, which means we might actually be able to go for the KO here with the Grass Knot. We just need to live 2 more counters, and we barely get there in time, which is huge for us, because of course, from this range, without a debuff, Grass Knot gets the KO, and they've got a Swampert in the back, but it doesn't matter. We've got a 2-shield advantage, but we've also got loads of energy, and a Hydro Pump nearly gets the one-shot. We get the Mudshot farm down, and we're able to take that game. And going into I believe the final battle of this video, leading Credilli into a Shadow Whiscash. So the opponent's going to say swap into Mantine. We swap immediately into our Kabutops. Gonna fire off the Ancient Power straight away, and Ancient Power is going to be no shielded. That does big damage, and we get the boost as well, which is huge for us. The opponent is going to fire off an Ice Beam, so never mind, there is a second Mantine out there running Ice Beam, and they're just going to concede the match. straight away, so never mind, that was not the final battle. This one probably is, and we're going to lead into a Galarian Stunfisk. So fairly neutral lead matchup for us. Of course, we are going to take neutral damage from everything they throw. Likewise, they're also taking neutral from grass, so they're going to go for an Earthquake there. We tank that pretty comfortably, and they swap into Hisuian Arcanine, running Fire Fang. So we fire off the Rock Slide, dealing big damage. We then swap into Omastar. We get the Mudshot farm down. And honestly, Omastar, probably one of his best matchups there up against the Arcanine. We're now going to farm up to a Hydro Pump, but we're baiting with the Ancient Power. Very risky, but we grab the shield, which is huge for us. And Ancient Power is, by the way, double resisted by the ground and steel typing, so very risky, but that will allow us to outpace them and make it to a Hydro Pump. And are they going to double shield here? The answer is no. We get the one shot, and they've got a Pelipper in the back, so this should be game over. We're going to fire off the Ancient Power. Ancient Power going to hit for super effective damage. The opponent shields the first Ancient Power there. They're going to stay in, and they will throw just before we make it to the next charge move, so good timing there, but it's not going to help them enough because we can come in with the Credilli. We've already got the Rock Slide loaded, so gonna fire it off straight away. Rock Slide does big damage. We swap into Kabutops, and the opponent probably should just concede the match at this point, but they're playing it out anyways. They do realize that they are resisting the Mudshot damage, so it will have to be a charge move that takes them out. But speaking of charge moves, Ancient Power gets the KO. We take out the Pelipper, and we're able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. And if you want to take your support even further, you can now become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has already become a channel member. Your support is greatly appreciated, and with that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.